So when people started talking about the pandemic in January, I think we all were under the assumption that this wasn't going to affect us to the level it did, if at all. And as things progressed, it just became evident that we were going to have to make some really difficult decisions about whether to remain open or closed. I attended a virtual meeting with a librarian from Italy and one from the West Coast. And after listening to their stories and their pleas really for libraries to be proactive in closing, it just became the obvious decision that we needed to do that. We're really supported by the city and had all support from other libraries to make that decision to close on the 16th at 6 p.m. During the time that the library was closed to the public, programming was being developed. We were forwarding reference requests and tech help questions to staff members who are working from home, so they were always engaged and they were always available. We all participated in online learning activities, which there generally isn't enough time for. We held regular staff meetings via Zoom so that whether we were in the library or from home, we could be connected. When we decided to reopen to the public, we wanted to ensure that we were using best practices in everything that we did. We consulted CDC guidelines, the Minnesota Department of Health guidelines, and the city of Fergus Falls in making our decisions. And wearing masks was an obvious decision for us. We knew that was recommended. We knew we would have to ask that of guests to the library. Social distancing, decisions to close the drinking fountain, to move computers apart from one another so that people weren't too close, sanitizing everything, quarantining books for 72 hours. When a best practice was made obvious to us, we instilled it. We are librarians and we make decisions based on factual information. So that's really what guided how we operated while we were closed and when we reopened.
Our goal is to stay open as long as we can and to have the fullest range of services that we can during COVID. And so we've made some adaptations here in the library that have worked, and in fact some have been so positive that we'll continue to use them after COVID. For instance, we have the doorside pickup, no contact. People just call in or they ring the doorbell at the front door and say, I'm here to pick up my material. We check it out to them and put it in a bag or leave it out the door for them to pick up, and they can get their material. The curbside pickup has been, or the doorside pickup, either way, has been very popular with some people, and we will, like I said, continue to do that. And it just made sense during COVID to implement that ahead of time so that people didn't have to worry about when their material was coming back. If it would be late, would they have a fine? We just didn't want to have that kind of barrier for people. That was implemented early on. And in fact, since then, it's become a permanent thing here at the library. And we're very excited about that, and customers are too. It's been obvious that some people are feeling the social isolation. And so when they do come into the library or when they've been calling on the phone, we take extra time, just like, how's it going? And I'm glad you called, and it was good to hear your voice. And that's sincere from all of us because we feel the same way in our personal lives. It's important as a community entity to express how good it is that we can serve people, to keep that humanity. It's great that we could be open, and that's why we're taking the precautions that we are.
We had to alter how the library space and the rooms were used. We contacted groups and individuals that had reserved the community room or study rooms to let them know when the library was closed to the public. And then once we were open again, we had to modify how the rooms were used based on CDC guidelines. We went from groups of over 100 to limiting to 10 people or fewer with social distancing in our larger space. Now that we are back open to the public, we are following safety guidelines with room usage. We have spaces available for single users to up to 10 people in our largest community room space. And people really have been taking advantage of the spaces we have available. We have had individuals and people in to do homeschool testing. They are working from home. There are students coming in doing homework. We have had court hearings here, and people have been coming in to use our technology to connect with family and friends using Zoom. And with room usage, we have made some modifications within our rooms to accommodate social distancing. We have pulled out some of the equipment and furniture to space people out better. We've added sanitation stations to the rooms, and we ask that people clean their areas both before and after use. And we have also added acoustic panels to help dampen the sound within our smaller study rooms.
We have new laptops with web cameras. We have 3 rooms now set up to accommodate hybrid meetings. We're checking out mobile hotspots and web cameras for people who are working at home, homeschooling, or any of their other needs. We also have a new self-checkout in the children's area so that people can spread out more. The library offers one-on-one technology appointments where you set up a time and meet with the librarian, and we help you learn how to use new technology. During the pandemic, we've helped people set up and use Zoom by setting up test events for them where we troubleshoot and make sure they're comfortable with the platform. During the pandemic, we've offered virtual events for adults on Zoom. These include art classes through Cadets Galleries, book clubs, and guest speakers. Some of our guest speakers included Missy Hermes from the Ottertail County Historical Society, Serena Zabin, a professor at Carleton, and Tim Brady, a St. Paul author. We were able to get presenters from farther away since we were doing the classes virtually. We've also had people attend from other places. We've had people attend from Canada, California, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and other areas in Minnesota. When we are able to have in-person events again, we hope to continue to offer a Zoom option as well. This will make it convenient for people who live in other places or if there's inclement weather.
Viking Library System offered an online card registration program for patrons to get library cards while they were at home. For the past year, we have been doing that, and we get maybe 30 applications a month. After applying online, they can come in to pick up their new card at the front desk via curbside pickup, or I could mail it to them. One of the new features that COVID-19 brought about for patrons is the Browse New Items tag on the online catalog. So patrons can go on the catalog, click on the Browse New Items button, and go in to see what new items have been added to the library recently. There are adult, nonfiction, fiction, audiobooks, and then children's fiction, nonfiction, DVDs, and paperbacks are all listed. We were able to modify our acquisitions process so when new books arrive, we are able to get them out the same day. We have added some fun new items during the pandemic. We've added cake pans and board games for checkout. These are fun things for families to do while we are at home a bit more.
Most of my time was spent on doing labels for a series books. So if you come up to the desk and you say, I've got this book, what book is next? I've made a label inside the book to help you find the next one. And it'll be whether we own it or some other library in Viking owns it. As an employee of the city, we have to do safety training. And this past year's training was done online. So before we got to do some of the fun stuff online, we had to finish our safety training class. From then I went on to reading library-centered journals. I did some work on circulation development. Before the pandemic, it was regular. People would donate their books and we'd give them to the friends to put in the store, or we'd save them for a sale cart. And then we had COVID strong, and we quit taking donations. When we started taking donations again, we have a book cart in the front lobby for free books, paperbacks, magazines. We had newspapers on there for a while, when we weren't having the public sit and read a paper. A lot of people really like it, a lot.
When we were unable to provide any in-person programming for 2020, I recorded and uploaded full storytime videos to our YouTube channel as well. Each storytime contained 1 to 2 stories, songs, finger plays, and a magnet board. In the spring of 2021, I wanted to include a musical element in the storytimes, so I created take-home storytime kits for our families to have at home with them, where they could use a bell, egg shaker, a scarf, or a beanbag to interact with me during storytime. This has been a great way to keep in contact with storytime families through online content. When I chose to upload storytime to YouTube, I looked into the copyright requirements each publisher had for reading books online. Many publishers gave permission for their books to be used freely, as long as we emailed them the title and the publisher information. Another requirement was that if you use Facebook Live, the video had to be deleted after 24 hours. Because of this, I chose to upload to YouTube because the videos would stay online longer and more families could participate in the story times. During the pandemic, we started going to the farmers market in July. We went on Kids Days, which was the last Saturday of the month, and provided story walks for families to participate in, as well as a table with a prize wheel for the children to spin and win bookmarks, pencils, stickers, or books. Being at the market was a great way to be in the public and reach our patrons outside of the library. With the CARES funding we received in 2020, I curated 6 baby backpacks, which are for babies up through children of age 2. Each backpack contained books, parent resource, and manipulative pertaining to the 6 practices of early literacy: talking, playing, singing, reading, writing, and counting. These baby backpacks are an easy way for parents and caregivers to incorporate early literacy skills at home with their children.
Our library and the local district have a wonderful working relationship. For about the past 9 years, I've been visiting McKinley School to provide monthly library curriculum for the kindergarten students. I made the decision to offer my programs online. I recorded the lessons and stories at the library and sent a link to the teachers so they could watch them on YouTube. I'm really happy that by the end of this school year, I'll be able to do some of the visits in person again. Throughout this last year, I've held the Read Aloud Book Club, known as Book Bunch, and a series of new programs called Could You Survive and Could You Escape via Zoom. I love being able to connect with the 4th through 8th graders in these programs. It's so wonderful to see their faces on my computer screen and share great stories with them. Every month, volunteers from the Friends of the Prairie have put together these incredible activity packs for families with young children. I created a special online story time for every monthly theme, and those are available on the library's YouTube channel. They're so popular that they're usually gone in a day or two. Krista, our early learning librarian, and I added many materials to the collection with this money to support distance education and at-home learning. We created new storytime kits, baby backpacks, bought numerous amounts of educational kits, as well as a large number of STEAM to-go bags.
I have really appreciated that we haven't had to close the building, or at least not for a terribly long time, and we've been able to provide services and access to materials for people during this difficult time.
Another thing that's been positive is that I think a lot of customers have looked for new authors because they've been reading so much, and so I think that's been positive for them. We've helped them with that as best we can, and they've checked out new media too and expanded in those sorts of ways. So
I love that we've been able to add cake pans and board games to the collection. The response from the public has been very positive.
I love putting together take and make activities for the preschool families. They've been a big hit with everyone.
One thing that I've enjoyed about the COVID project, if you could say that there's something to enjoy about COVID, is making my series labels for fiction mystery books. I've seen a lot of good things that I'd like to read, And as they say, too many books and not enough time, but
Every time a customer said, "Thank you for being here. Thank you for being open," it just warmed my heart.
Meeting new people through virtual events that otherwise we wouldn't have a chance to connect with.
I think one of the most important aspects of the pandemic is that we as a group of library employees are coming out of the pandemic stronger than we went in. We've all learned a great deal. We've learned about resiliency, creativity, and just, the drive to be able to serve the public as effectively as possible despite the obstacles in the way. We've learned more about what each of us does on a day-to-day basis so that we can pitch in and help out in case a coworker needed to quarantine or became ill. So, as difficult as it's been, in the end, we're better